What's up, pals? This is Staicha coming to you today from Allfather-Metal to talk about Cradle of Filth's 14th studio album, Screaming of the Valkyries, which comes out March 21st, which I was so lucky to get an advance copy of. Now, let's open up, as always, by talking about the lineup of the album. So we have Martin Marthas Skarupka on drums, we have Daniel Firth on bass. On guitars, we have Marek Ashok Shmirda and Donnie Burbage. We have got Zoe Fedorov on keys and backing vocals, and of course, Danny Filth on vocals. Now, I am really excited to share my thoughts with you on this album. I've been a Cradle of Filth fan for a very long time, so I'm just excited to get you ready to listen to it. So I'm just gonna go through the tracks in order, talk about my takeaway, and then end with just some overall impressions of the album. Spoiler alert, it's a really good album. I always like to take a little bit of extra time to talk about the first track because the first track is your first impression, and I always think what you open an album with is really important. So our first track is To Live Deliciously. In true Cradle of Filth fashion, we're opening up with kind of a spooky, atmospheric intro, but pretty immediately the drums kick in and this track is face melter. So I decided right away that this was one of my favorites on the album. By the end of the album, I actually did decide this was my #1 track. There's a lot I like on this album, but to me, this had all of the elements of a classic Cradle of Filth song. So there's a lot of tempo changes, there's ups and downs, but it's all very full. There's so much happening. And this is just very typical of Cradle of Filth, but it has a lot of speed, a lot of drive. So it's a great track, and I really think it's a good album opener because immediately the impression that I get is, yeah, classic Cradle of Filth fans are gonna love this because this is everything that you expect from Cradle of Filth right off the bat. There is also a wicked guitar solo around the 4.5-minute mark. So the song is very complex. It has a lot of moving parts, but it was still accessible enough that by the end of it, it felt very familiar. You felt like you knew it already. Or maybe I've just been listening to Cradle of Filth for 22 years. Moving into track 2, Demagoguery, we are treated to a dark gothic element with a haunting harpsichord intro, which I absolutely love because after all of that speed and drive in the track 1, we move into more of a mid-tempo mosher with those spooky elements that we really love from Cradle of Filth. This song also features a lot of Danny Filth's more low, menacing vocals that create that more eerie, gothic atmosphere, especially when it's mixed with the powerful guitar work in this song. There are actually really catchy elements to this song, like you want to sing along to it, but I will say it took me a few listens to really piece it all together. And this is a good thing for me. I like that in a song when it's so complex that it actually takes you a little bit of time to fully digest it. And that is this song in a nutshell. So halfway in, the song kind of dips into another soft, menacing performance from Danny Filth, just with emphasis on his vocal range and his abilities, which is obviously a theme that I'm going to talk about a lot because how do you talk about a Cradle of Filth album without talking about Danny Filth's vocal range? Really, to sum this up, this song is a combination of really powerful and really mournful riffs. So it's a very, very full song with a lot going on. And when you listen to it, I encourage you to hit repeat a couple times and just really take some time to digest this one. It is an amazing song. So coming out of Demagoguery, we go into track 3, Trinity of Shadows. And this song is just a really fast, fun song. The guitar work in this one really, really stands out to me. It definitely has less of an existential dread vibe, which, spoiler, that comes up a lot in this album. This almost has a more uplifting sound. There's no other way to say it. And you just really want to sing along to it. Across every Cradle of Filth album, you're going to expect world-class musicianship. That's a standard that has been held by Cradle of Filth since the very beginning. So you're going in expecting that. But there's always going to be songs where maybe one element is going to stand out to you. And to me, in this, it really is the guitar work. The riffs are fast, they're technical, but they're fun. This is just a scream along to it in a circle pit kind of song. Alright, and moving into track 4, Non-Ominous Moriar. Moriar, I don't speak Latin. Your guess is as good as mine. Pronunciation issues on my part aside, this song is a real standout on this album. So it has a very soft, ethereal sound, creepy whispers, very carefully crafted atmosphere. I would describe it as a mournful ballad, just with exceptional performances from everybody. It's so well written. I personally usually don't like anything that isn't just super fast with a bunch of blast beats, but this feels like such a good song to work through pain and loss too. There's just a lot of feeling in this song. So excellent backing vocals from Zoe Fedorov that really add to the tone here, and a really good midway point for the album where we start to hear something just a little bit different. All right, after our beautiful angst-ridden ballad, we are moving into track 5, White Hellebore. This one comes at you, no soft warm-up, right away, awesome riffs, super quick, super in your face, which I love. Hit me with those fast riffs and that guitar. It's a great pace change after the 4th track. All of that said, we do still, in this song, take some moments to really appreciate Zoe Fedorov's range and just how well her vocals pair with Dani Filth. But of course, any song that's got all of those fast, speedy metal elements in it, we have to talk about just the pulverizing drums in this song. Really, there's just so much talent in this band, and I know I said this was going to be a theme, but it's just, you can't ignore it. This is all of the classic Cradle of Filth elements. Everything you want in heavy metal, but with those operatic, goth tones to it that just give them their unique sound. And this song is a really great example of when those two things mesh together perfectly. Moving into track 6, You Are My Nautilus. So we're opening up with some low, menacing vocals to kind of set a more evil tone. But what makes this song really fun, especially for Maiden fans like myself, is the dueling guitars in it. So by the 3.5 minute mark, I found you really started to appreciate just how great the guitar work is in a song that has a lot happening in it. You Are My Nautilus is 7 minutes and 39 seconds, so it is an epic tale, and it takes you through a lot. So it's a very dark song with moments where you just take pause to really sit and appreciate Filth's range, his performance, but also kind of his storytelling. And there's lots of really unique elements in this song, so things like whispering and creepy laughter in the background that just really suck you into that epic tale element of the song. So it's like listening to a full cast of characters that really fill things out and make this another standout song. And moving into track 7, Malignant Perfection, your new favorite Halloween song. Now, one thing that I love so much when Cradle of Filth does it is that blending of guitar and keys. And this song is just a great example of that. It's just the perfect fusion. And this whole album overall has a very melancholic kind of melody to it, but it's really solidified by this track. And, you know, those two instruments coming together are what really drive this home for me. Obviously, by track 7, we're nearing the end of the album, but we're keeping it super dark. So there's a lot of creepy, operatic elements mixed with parts that you actually really want to sing along to. The first time you listen to it, you kind of just, you wish you already knew it because you want to jump in and just yell along with it. But overall, I would say this one has a real gothic love song vibe. And again, great drum work to really drive home those blackened thrash elements that the album has. And moving on to track 8, Ex Sanguine Draculae. Now, this song is either my second favorite or tied for my first favorite, but a lot of that actually has to do with Skorupka's performance on this. Now, I know I've mentioned at a lot of points in this album what a great drummer he is, but that's what really stands out to me in this, because this has a lot of classic metal elements that I love. You need to headbang to this song. The riffs in this are incredible. They're so fast. This song does take those moments where it likes to slow down, but I find less about creating that creepy atmosphere than it is to just make you really anxious for when the guitar and the drums come in again. So this is just designed to make you want to mosh harder. So I really think this is going to be an album favorite. It's a classic metal banger, ferocious riffs, drums, growls. It's 7 minutes and 10 seconds long, and every second of it is good. So this one, track 8, true mosher. I can't wait for you all to hear it. And our final track, track 9, When Misery Was a Stranger. Now, I have a lot to say about this song. It is amazing. It's very layered. It's got very interesting guitar work in it. And what I mean by that is the riffs are incredible, but none of them are predictable. You just want to listen to it because it's so unique. This song caps off the album so well. We have another amazing performance from Zoe, but it's still, you know, thrashy and fast, but not necessarily in like a fun metal party way, more in an apocalyptic kind of way. So it really ties together all of the elements in the album that we've seen so far. This is another song where I had to go back to it several times to really digest all of it. There's just so many new parts to appreciate. And, you know, as fast and thrashy as it is, you know, halfway through we take a little bit of time to just slow down for some mood setting guitar work. But overall, I would describe this as a battle song. That's just what it sounds like to me. It has speed, it has power. It's probably my third favorite. So those are my top 3 songs, but honestly, they're so closely linked. And that is it for the 9 tracks on Screaming of the Valkyries. I can't wait for all of you to hear it. It is going to be an album that I predict will be very well received by longtime Cradle of Filth fans like myself, who really like early works like Principle of Evil Made Flesh, all the way through to people who prefer some of their mid work, things like Nymphetamine that have a little bit more of a fantastical gothy element to it, up to their more recent work. Cradle of Filth has a lot of elements to them that they keep consistent. Excellent musicianship, very full sound, and just a lot to process. This is not an album you're going to get bored with. This album had some black and thrash element. It had some death and roll elements. It has some dark gothy elements. There's so much happening in this album. I would say overall this does have a bit of a darker vibe than maybe some of their previous albums, but still lots of speed, great drum work, pulverizing riffs to enjoy. I think there's a little bit of something for everybody in Screaming of the Valkyries. I personally love the more thrashy elements, but that's because that's just my taste. This has been Staicha from Allfather-Metal. I can't wait to hear what all of you think of Screaming of the Valkyries. When you listen, please comment, let us know what your take was.